This is the Makeup Show podcast, where we take some time every week to talk all things about makeup, from kit to career, from artistry to inspiration, and everything in between. With decades of experience in all areas of the industry, award-winning makeup artists Danessa Myricks and James Vincent travel the world meeting and educating makeup lovers. In this podcast, Danessa and James share the wealth of their knowledge and career insights with you.
Hey, hey, hey.
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
I'm Danessa Myricks.
And I am James Vincent.
And this is the Makeup Show podcast. And for those who are watching on YouTube, you see we have a guest. We couldn't hide her. She's here with us, and we're so happy. And for those of you who are listening in, I have to describe her. It's literally like the sun has entered the room.
Oh.
I am shaking from her level of beautiful energy, and she has dimples the size of the Grand Canyon, and her smile is like bigger than you can ever imagine, and we're so grateful to have her here. And of course James is here too.
Yeah, I'm here too. Okay. Joy, I am so happy that you are with us today. You are someone who we've known each other as makeup artists for about 20 years now.
Yes.
Not only are you an artist and an educator and building businesses, but you are also the brainchild behind the All Black Everything Summit. I would love if you would take a moment and just kind of introduce yourself to our audience who might not know you.
Yes, definitely. Well, first of all, thank you guys. Thank you, James. Thank you, Danessa, for that beautiful introduction. I really appreciate it. I'm like, I can't stop. My cheeks hurt now because I'm smiling too hard. But I am a makeup artist. My name is Joy Fennell, and I'm a makeup artist. I'm based in New York City. I'm in Harlem, okay? So I'm from the Maryland, D.C. area, from the DMV, PG County to be exact. I have been a makeup artist for about 20 years, as James said, and I've known him for about that long. I am the current owner of the Joy and Beauty, which is an online makeup destination. And out of the Joy and Beauty, the All Black Everything Summit was born during this pandemic, and it was born out of a need to make sure that we all stay inspired. And I was really excited and happy to put it on. So thank you guys for having me.
Thank you. Now, the All Black Everything Summit, it came at the beginning of the pandemic, before everything really started to take off with Black Lives Matter. And it was a space where you brought in Black creatives, experts, industry insiders to offer advice and to give advice on not only on business, but on branding and artistry and all of these things. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the people that you brought in and some of the topics that you covered?
Yeah, so I brought in makeup artists, hairstylists, photographers, creative directors. Some of the people were also mentors, Crystal Wright, AJ Crimson, Ashley Rutter from MAC Cosmetics, Portia Cooper, Portia Fabulous, makeup artist, Naima LaFond. Like those were some of the people that I brought in that I really wanted to have like a real discussion with, like a real discussion, like it's great and all to have, talks, but I feel like I'm all about getting to the real, and really figuring out like how can we be successful in this economy and come out ahead after everything opens back up. So that was my real question, was how can we come out ahead when we will open back up,
This is a episode where I think one of the things we really wanted to talk about, Danessa and I, is how are you preparing yourself? For so many Black creatives, for so many female creatives, for so many queer creatives, we are already marginalized. So to be able to make your own way, build your own business, start your own brand, we're not really prepared. Those opportunities do not always exist with our talent. So in this episode, we kind of want to talk a little bit about what can you do to prepare yourself. And then we also want to tackle the very big idea of the allyship. How does that sound to you guys?
Oh, yes, that sounds great because it's so important. Yeah.
Now,
I want to just say, I hope no one missed the fact that she had this huge summit in the middle of the pandemic, which I think is insanely amazing. And I think it's incredible. Like, you know, we go back and forth talking about this pandemic and how it's affected us and how it's affected us in business. But one of the things that we say over and over again is just how surprised of how much birth happened during probably the worst times in any of our lives. Like, what inspired you in that moment? I guess in quiet, you know, all these things kind of rise to the top, you know, because I'm sure this is something you wanted to do for a long time, and to unpack it during a pandemic was no small.
Yeah, so it was honestly, to be honest, I had no idea that this was going to come out of this pandemic. First of all, I started doing Instagram live videos where I was bringing in like people to talk to, people to interview, and out of that was kind of where All Black Everything Summit was born, because I really wanted to know how were Black creatives handling this, because I knew that this was going to affect us in a disproportionate rate. And out of that, I know that I didn't want it to affect our inspiration, our self-esteem. I didn't want it to affect us creating, you know, because creating helps to me with mental health. It helps channel that energy. So part of it was that when everything happened with the pandemic, I didn't want to sit idly by, because I was like, I need to create something and I don't know what it is. And somehow or another, this was born out of it, you know? So this was not in the plan, the 2020 plan at all. This wasn't in the 2019 plan, 2018, nothing. I never, ever thought that this, like, I would be hosting a 3-day summit that was literally planned in 2 weeks.
That's amazing.
Yes, but I was telling you guys, like, I somehow summoned my Virgo energy, and I was like, we're going to make this happen. I don't know how, but it's going to happen.
As a fellow Virgo, I completely understand exactly what you're feeling. And this is a fellow creative. I think, you know, James and I, we talked about this so many times, how important it is for creators to create. Like, when we don't create, things do not go well. Like, we spit out, and it's just really, what I love about what you said is that you just decided to do something, and that something was doing those lives. And it's one of the conversations we have with the listeners all the time. It's like, you don't have to have it all figured out. Just start something, and then that inspiration comes. And like, how quickly this inspiration came for this huge event that I want so many more details on. But as James said, you know, I think one of the most beautiful things is that you were able to get people to come together. And thinking of that idea of allyship, you know, I would like to think that there is a mindset that needs to be present before that could be possible. And I wondered if you wanted to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I definitely think the mindset is that you have to be open. You have to be open to sharing your gifts with the world, you know, and I think that goes for all allies. You know, you have white allies, but you also have Black allies. And the thing is, like, we have to be willing and open and able to talk about what we don't think this industry, what we don't think we should in this industry. Because I come from an era where, when you first started in this industry, you don't share your contacts. You know, like, it's certain things like you just don't do. And I'm like, I don't want to come from that haze mentality anymore. You know what I mean? Well, first of all, I never wanted to be in that haze mentality. I've always wanted to be an open book. But it's like, back in the day, you were trained like, okay, if you want to make it, you better keep your mouth shut. And you know, like, you don't discuss things. You don't discuss who you know. You don't discuss your rates. You don't just, you know, like, certain things. And I'm like, but how? Now is the time where Instagram is here. People know that they have these options to even be these things, like be a makeup artist. Back in the day, I didn't even know I could be a makeup artist. I was in school, you know, and I was just like, that's a career path, you know? So now that people know this, why not help them get the tools together in order to succeed at the highest level?
I love what you said, and it's interesting. I think we all came up around the same time. You started even way before that, James. I think because I'm on my 20th year. You're 20 years, and James, you're like 30.
5 years.
Yeah, so I think we all are very clear on that era, and I think what would you say to the idea of, because I hear this often, you know, coming up, I used to always like, education is like a baseline of my whole career. The same for you and James. And I think it was because I was coming up in an era where nothing was available. No one wanted to talk. I'd be on sets and they'd put tape around the names of the products so you don't know what they're using. And it made it really, really difficult. But what I want to see if we could just spend a moment unpacking is, how would you define the difference between sharing and allyship and protecting your business assets and your business equity? Because I think that's where some of the confusion comes in. And I think that's where some of the disconnect happens, the reason why people don't want to join together and band together, because in some sense they feel like they're giving away a piece of their business, their intellectual property, like their formula for success. Can you talk a little bit about that? And I wonder like how some of the other speakers may have felt about that topic.
Well, I think, honestly, I feel like it's not about giving your secret sauce. You know what I mean? Like, we all have our secret sauce that only if we sprinkle that secret sauce on it, that's just joy touch right there. You know what I mean? So it's not necessarily about doing that, but maybe giving like the framework for people to take it on and create something for themselves. You know, like at the end of the day, you can go out and get a business account. You know, I don't necessarily have to tell you where to get it. You know for you where to go get you a business account, you know, but I can say, go get a business account, you know? So it's just like, so those type of things, like even like contract, you know, hey, a contract might be something that you need, you know, go and find a lawyer to draft you up a contract, you know? So these are the type of things that I feel like can be shared, you know, and it's not necessarily that you have to, because at the end of the day, the person also has to do the work too, you know. We're not, you know, like it's not about us giving every single thing step by step for you to take, for you to have an amazing career. At some point, you have to take it on and say, this is what I want. Okay, so now let me go out and figure it out, you know. So as long as the foundation is laid, then go make it your own. Go make you a house, you know?
I think it's the difference between mentorship.
Yes.
You know, mentorship means that as a leader, that you're going to share information and guide someone through, and you take someone in as an apprentice and then you help build them up. But a lot of that information has to come from the mentee doing the work. Yes. And I think what's kind of happened, and Danessa and I've had this discussion in a few podcasts, is people now want the answer, not the understanding. And if I give you the understanding, I say to you, okay, you're starting a business, here's what I recommend, here's where you can do some research. But with one quick Google search now, you can Google how to start a business. Yes. But you're not willing to kind of do the deep dive and say, okay, well, I know I need to contact an accountant. I know I need to contact a lawyer. I know I need to contact a bank. It becomes difficult to kind of move forward. And I think what we're seeing with creatives right now is, as people kind of come together and share information, it makes it much easier for groups of people to move together. Because if we're honest, we came up in a time where if there was one Black makeup artist at an agency, that was a lot of Black makeup artists at an agency. If there was one Black model at an agency, she was the Black model for the agency. So I think what we're also seeing as we're starting to help people gather information and grow their brand and their business and their skill is dynamics are changing. The highest paid makeup artist in the industry is now a Black female. And that did not happen 15 years ago. So I think that opens up this idea that, okay, I can be there too. And then we're getting all of these young artists who are saying, okay, help me figure it out. And the structures and the information is closer to their fingertips than maybe it was for us. So
it was. It definitely was closer. It's closer to, like, look, this is something like we did not have. Period. You know, like I remember us having the portfolio, that heavy thing we had to lug around.
Yeah,
like,
mine is still collecting dust about 2 feet from where I'm sitting.
Mine too.
And mine was never loved. It's the most hated portfolio in the world that I had to buy 2 of.
Oh my God.
I love anything inside.
Yes, I totally remember those days, and they were heavy, and really, like, first of all, like, going through the mastheads of magazines, trying to figure out email addresses, you know, like it was real, you know. So I think, like, one of the things that we can't or that I'm definitely, like I said, not into, like, the hazing mentality. However, you know, if you're an artist, like, you also have to put in the work too, you know? It's not about us, like, just handing every single thing, like, writing down the whole entire thing for you, you know? At some point, how bad do you want it, you know?
Teach a man to fish.
Yeah.
The idea of, like, giving people access to the information.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about allyship. And one of the things that we try and do on this podcast is to give people things that are actionable. And so, you know me, I put together a little list, and I would love to just go through a few points of allyship and see how you feel we can bring them in as creatives, specifically in this beauty industry. And the first point to being a great ally that we always talk about is take on the struggle as your own. You know, one of the first things you have to do to be an ally is to see that you are also part of the struggle. I would love to know how you think that impacts the beauty industry.
I think, like, I definitely think that is a great point. I think that if you take on the struggle as your own, you will see through your own eyes that we are underrepresented in this industry. And then you will be like, okay, now I see that there is a problem, you know? And let me see how I can work to change that. You know, it's just that simple. It's just because the thing is, like, it's great and all, and it's no, you know, I'm happy that, you know, brands are starting to see that and starting to open up and starting to make their voices heard. But now, where are you putting the dollars behind that? Are you now hiring Black creatives? You know, and that is where I'm like, okay, the economic growth is what I want to change. It's like, it's all well, you know, like how, like, it's all well and good saying these things, but are you going to hire us? You know, like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I think that's important to remember. Like, it is not just saying, okay, I believe in this cause. It's like, what are the actions that you're taking to make impact? And I think that's, you know, the performative allyship has been a big piece of social media. But what you're saying, like, now give me the job, you know? Like
and the thing is, like, you know, I'm not advocating to just give people jobs. I'm saying hire the most qualified person in the room, and if that person is Black, hire them. You know, like, don't because a lot of things also that people don't understand in this industry is that it's relationship built.
Absolutely.
You know, it's relationship built, and a lot of people are not are kind of like not building these relationships, you know? So unfortunately, like, you have to, like, also navigate that and start being in the rooms, you know, and not turning down the opportunities to be in the rooms because you might not feel comfortable in the room. Go in that room and make your presence known, you know? And from there, that, you know, like, and then also it's just, you know, about really, like, opening it up to everybody, you know? Like, stop with the gatekeeper mentality in this industry, you know, where it's only a few people that can get in. Nah, I'm not with that.
Danessa, I would love to know, because you kind of straddle all of these worlds. You're an artist, photographer, you own your own brand, but you also are a director and consultant for a number of brands. Can you talk a little bit about that idea of transferring the benefits of your privilege, which is another part of allyship? Joy said about kind of going into a room and taking your space. Is that something that you think is essential for creatives, or something you've dealt with?
Yeah, and that's why one of the first things I felt that was important to talk about was the mindset, because, and I found myself in those scenarios so often where you get that imposter syndrome, like, oh my God, I've never been there before. I don't know how to be there. And being there is scarier than not ever having the opportunity.
Yeah.
So there's so many levels to it. Mindset is certainly important, but there are things even today that I struggle with doing because I still feel like I don't belong there. So I think it comes two ways. When we talk about allyship, I can think of so many points in my career that if it were not for someone who took my hand and said, come here, don't worry, I got you. And this is white, black, whatever, just a human being that was like, you know what? I see this for you, and I'm going to make it possible for you. I'm going to help you get there. I had to do the work when I got there, but it was only because somebody reached out a hand. And that's why I think this whole idea of allyship is very important. Even now, through the whole Black Lives Matter movement, and when we talk about brands and brand owners who on the surface are saying words and putting up posts, and what are you actually doing? There are so many levels to how a brand can participate in this conversation, even if they don't feel that they're ready to hire someone, because if you had no history of doing it, they have no reference of what you've done. There are other things that can be done. And I won't say the name of this person because I didn't ask permission, but there is someone who sent me a gift. It's a 2-day workshop on marketing and telling your brand story. Who is an ally. He was like, this is what's going to help your business to grow. And this was a very expensive gift. It's thousands of dollars. And it just showed up in my email. Like, this is what I'm doing for you to help move you forward. So there's so many levels to it, right? So I think as artists, working on ourselves and what we believe about ourselves to be true is important, because there are still opportunities that I say no to just really based out of fear because I haven't been in that space. But I will say the times that I said yes and kind of felt the fear anyway, all of those moments have changed my life completely. When we talk about, being an ally on the opposite side, I think that's why we do the things that we do in terms of the podcast, even the free trainings that we do. How can you become a consultant, or how can you find your gift as an artist, or narrating in that way. And that's why I love what you said. It's not like, here are my clients that I can consult for, here, go talk to them too. It's like, this is why, once I got there, I know why they were attracted to me. I know what they liked and disliked. I know what their needs are. So then now I can communicate to others, like, listen, this is what's happening on the other side of the wall. And if you want to make yourself, if you want to present yourself as someone who can be, this bond, or this are you marriage material, basically? If you want to get yourself ready for these partnerships, these are the things that you should be doing. I think on that level, it's important that we all share that information, just as you mentioned. And I think on the flip side of that, one of the most important things that you both said is that if you're the person in need who's asking the questions, you need to be receptive on the level of the response that you get. Because I know oftentimes, and this is like all day long, I get emails, I know you're busy and you don't know me, and then there's 8 paragraphs and it's a wish list of all the things they want me to help them to do and to share with them, and time that they want me to take out with them, and phone numbers that they want me to give, and emails. And, it actually sometimes is uncomfortable because you want to share and you want to help, but then you're like, well, this is not really how this is supposed to happen. So I think it's like a balance on so many levels. It's like, that mindset from the beginning, are you ready? The mindset when you're asking for help, like what mindset are you in the receiving of the information? And then as you get it and as you get into these new spaces, how you, turning back and giving back, like what can you share? What can you teach that's going to help that next person go through that process you just went through? So there's like so many levels, but there's a mindset that needs to be there on every level, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that is so true.
If we kind of look at allyship and the idea of putting yourself in that place and then understanding, how to give opportunity, the next thing that we talk about is amplifying voices. This year with the makeup show, Danessa, you came up with a program last year that we're doing called Girls Interrupting, which is about bringing female voices into the industry. With the makeup show, we have really focused on, for the last year, is Black-owned brands, queer-owned brands, independent brands. Why is it essential that everyone amplifies the voices of other people in allyship? And what are some of the ways that our listeners can do that for other artists?
I definitely feel like it adds a level of empathy, and it allows you to just think outside of yourself. It's just it's not always, or you definitely want to just help. How can I say this? I want to say this in a thoughtful way. It's like it's not always about you. You know what I mean? And I think that's the only way I can put it. It's just like you have to think outside of yourself, and just in the world in general. It's like a lot of times we are so in our own cocoon and so unaware sometimes that other things are going on in the world. And how can we help change that situation? And I think part of it is that we have to look through a different lens in order to make change to really happen, So yeah.
The idea of amplifying voices and just in this space, amplifying melanated voices, it's very interesting what the conversation was during this process, because there were people who were very angry about that. And they felt as if people were getting a gift that they didn't deserve, that they didn't work for. And I just want to speak to that a little bit. I can speak to it in two ways. I know for me during that time frame, I was just like, there are things that I know that are within my control, that if I had the opportunity to raise a voice, this is what it would be. And I know for me as a makeup artist, if you've ever worked with a Black model, the one thing that's consistent with everyone is that they never get an opportunity to be in the right space. No one sees them. If there's one at an agency, there can't be two, and so on and so forth. So I was like, okay, I know these stories because they were told to me personally. I experienced it. And so one of the things that I did during that time frame is every Black model that I worked with, who allowed me to work with them and I was able to create really beautiful imagery with, I wanted to bring them forward. And in that, those models who were never seen were picked up in stories for Vogue, Bazaar, Allure. They're all over social right now and being seen for the first time. And so for me as a business, there were people who were very much like, why should I buy from her? Like, why should I buy from her and not this person? And when I say her, not necessarily me, but just in general, these people who you are pushing me to buy from. But I think what's important to understand is that no one is asking anyone to give a voice to someone that doesn't deserve it. Yeah. And if we talk about economics, that's usually, we're out of that economic conversation so often, where there are things, even when we're in business, that we don't have the resources to amplify ourselves enough, right? So someone who does, creating that space, just gives somebody who deserves it an opportunity to shine. And it was so beautiful as I was going through social, seeing people post, and I reposted a lot of things in my stories because I thought it was important, where they were like, what, I actually never heard of this person, but I bought this thing, and this is the best thing I've ever used in my life. And I would have never known this or this person or this product. And so people were beginning to get it. It was not like throw somebody a bone just because. It was because, no, there's some amazing people, amazing work, amazing things out there, products services out there that people just aren't aware of because either A, no one allowed them to be present, or B, they don't have the resources to amplify themselves, or C, people strategically manipulated situations so that they could not be seen.
Yeah.
So I think amplifying voices is something that everybody on every level has the opportunity to do. It's a way that we all can participate. I think it was the simplest ask throughout the Black Lives Matter movement to just, raise the voice of someone that people have not heard. And when people ask like what they can do, like that's so baseline, it's so easy. Hey, look at this girl, this guy, this person, they do a great thing, they have a great thing. I think it's the easiest thing that we can do.
I love that. Can I add something really quick? Yeah. I just want to say, like, and I agree 100% with what you said, Danessa. And I wanted to add, like, I definitely agree. It's not about a handout. Like people think like, oh, it's just a hand. It's not about a handout. It's about people work hard, and they also need to be seen as well. So I totally agree with what you said. Yeah.
And I think it goes back to what you said about relationships, because if this is a relationship-based industry, if I'm using my privilege, if I'm using my platform, I am able to put someone forward who maybe doesn't have the relationship that I've had. And I think that is essential for any marginalized group. I think that, Audre Lorde says the master's tools will never dismantle the master's house, which speaks specifically to the needs of Black women in the world. How are Black women getting the opportunities that should be their opportunities? And that means that we have to make systemic changes so that we can push forward and then help people who maybe haven't had the spotlight be able to have the spotlight, because it isn't about someone not having the talent. It's that they haven't been in a position where their talent could be seen. And I think that is the more important conversation. It's not, am I putting someone forward who doesn't deserve it? It's how am I making sure that people who deserve it are having opportunities? And that's what allyship probably means right now more than anything else as far as working with platforms. So I would love to continue with a few more points if you guys are cool with it. We've got about 7 minutes. If you think we can kind of hit a few more points, we can.
I think so.
The last thing I want to talk about, Joy, you really brought it up. Understand that your education is up to you. This is not about you. Allyship is not about you. Not every movement or every moment is about you. How can we get people to understand that community means compassion and empathy and understanding for situations and issues that might not be yours?
Well, part of it is through experiences. And I think so for instance, I went to Morocco last year and I loved it. It was amazing. But one of the things I really learned in Morocco was what true community is, and true community is, because I actually went during Ramadan, and it was my first time ever seeing true community is we all cook together, we all eat together, we all partake. If someone doesn't have, you will have, and I felt like that to me was I got a real lesson in what community is, and I feel like that is one of the things for us is be in community, be around each other, really be in community, not that fake community, not that Instagram, oh, we're going to take a picture community, be in the presence of each other when we're able to right now, but be in the presence of others and really understand what it is to be around everyone and really understand what their livelihoods look like, how they communicate, how we all talk to one another. That to me is how things will change. Be around people that don't look like you, period. For everyone. be around people that don't look like you, because that is the only way you're really going to truly learn how to communicate with each other, is to go outside of yourself and purposely seek friends that don't look just like you, you know? So because I feel like that is the only way you'll be able to understand someone and what they've gone through in their life, is to really be about and to deep dive into their world.
Eat their food, read their stories, you know, actively listen when your friends are speaking, go to their homes, you know, participate in their holidays. This is how you get to truly understand other people. I know you want to add to that, Danessa, too. We've got a few more minutes, so.
No, I'm just thinking about, just as she was talking, I was thinking about my friend circle, and I've just been thinking about just my life for the last couple of years and the times that I spent on planes. And James and I, we talk about this a lot, you know, the more we move into different spaces, the more we open up and we understand. And I think I've talked a lot of times about my first trip to Russia and how that impacted me and how it impacted the people there. And I think about my friend circle and how they are such an eclectic mix of just humans that I was able to connect to just in a different way. We recently went to Israel and to visit the home of a close friend of ours, and just hearing the stories. I mean, going to the Wailing Wall and putting my hands on that wall and walking through, like, it changed me as a person. And that wasn't my story, but I really understand their story now, and I'm so incredibly empathetic towards it. And I felt like a very strong connection in that space. And I think what you said is so perfect, and it's exactly what we're just asking people to do right now. If you know the story, it is impossible to not be empathetic. Like, it's absolutely impossible. When you see someone hanging from a tree, you know, for no reason, it's very, you know, it becomes very clear when you understand the pain and the suffering and how things, opportunities have been limited for a specific group of human beings. It's impossible not to be empathetic. And I think what you said was exactly it. Like, open yourself up, get to know, read the story, like, feel the story, connect with those people. And then now that you know, and the story is clear for you and it's true for you and it's in your face and it's something within your understanding, it's very easy to figure out what you can do on every level to create.
Joy, you're going to be with us at the virtual makeup show coming up. We are figuring that out. When can we expect from All Black Everything Summit? When are you guys coming back?
So right now we're finalizing dates. We don't have the date just yet, but I'm in the middle of doing all of that now. But just know that it is coming back. So I'm excited about that.
I'm excited too.
So Joy, thank you so much for joining us. I know we've got some programs and projects coming up. We're going to be announcing all of that. This is not an easy topic. This requires decades of educating yourself, unpacking your own stories, and listening to other people's. I want to say thank you so much for joining us and giving our audience a few guidelines for moving forward.
Thank you guys for having me. Just know, like, this, it's all love, you know, let's all go outside of each other and just really take the time to learn each other and to just be in company and relate and share each other's food, you know?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Guys, keep following us, giving us those reviews. Follow us on Instagram at Makeup Show Podcast.
Yes, and keep sending us those emails and your topics. We love you, and we love that you join us every single week. Take care. Be an amazing ally to someone, and just, you know, open your hearts. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week on the Makeup Show Podcast.
And follow Joy and Beauty and All Black Everything Summit. We're going to put all of that information in everything so you can follow. I feel so lucky to call you guys friends and family. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Until next time.
See you next week.
Bye, guys. Thank you.